Boston Celtics snapped the Cavs streak. It wasn't perfect, but the way they did it was important. We'll talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising business. How we finish, locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you. Be ever ready for the new theme song. Really happy to have you here, making this your first listen every day. Make sure you're getting started with this Locked On Celtics podcast. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section and let me know what you're thinking about the Boston Celtics 3-point win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Close one. Probably shouldn't have been as close as it was considering the 21-point lead, but we'll take it. The streak is over, and the Celtics have the NBA belt back in Boston for the third time. I'm John Karalis, by the way. I have been covering the Celtics for about 20 years, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal and as the author of Built Different, a book that celebrates banner 18 as the Celtics chase banner 19. So get that at johnkaralis.com. $30 signed, delivered to your door in the United States. So go check that out. Today, we're talking about the Celtics win. Later on, we'll talk about the Jays, Al Horford, all of that, defense, rebounding. Let's just start with this. The Celtics have the belt. The Celtics break the streak. The Celtics are now the best team in the NBA again, right? That's how it works. The Cavs made this interesting in the third quarter. It was funny in the third quarter. Celtics go up 21. Jayson Tatum hits a three-pointer. You could feel the game start to slow down. You could feel the Cavs make a couple of baskets. The Celtics offense, all of a sudden, you could just tell it was different. Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout after just 6 or 5 points from the Cavs, and the Cavs go on this massive run, cut it down to 2 in the fourth quarter. They have chances to tie. They have chances to make this a game, brand new game. But we've seen a million times in basketball, if you can't make that, if you can't get all the way back to a lead, if you can't come back and get that thing tied, if you're making that run from the third quarter and you just can't get over that hump somewhere in that fourth quarter, then you're just never going to have a chance, right? You need to take the lead before the other team can answer. And the Celtics had their answer before the Cavs could take a lead. And it's just, they were down 21. If they had taken that 1 or 2 point lead early in the fourth quarter, I think they would have won this game. We've seen that happen a bunch to the Celtics, against the Celtics. The Celtics doing it to other teams. So credit to the Cavs for making that run. The Celtics kind of slipped a little bit. And once you slip against the Cavs, it gets to be very, very difficult, and they can make their run pretty quickly. But credit the Celtics now for that fourth quarter. Al Horford was huge. I think the turning point in this game were the 2 blocked shots that he had. About 4.5 minutes to go. The Celtics had just made it a 5-point game. Al Horford gets a block. You come down. Derek White hits a 3. Al Horford goes down the other end on the defensive end, gets another block. Derek White came down, and the next 3-pointer just barely missed. If that 3 had fallen and made it an 11-point game, the building would have come down. It just would have been insane. It was already, the momentum was building. If Derek White had hit that second 3-pointer and you went block 3, wow, that would have been one of the all-time stretches for the Celtics. But they still managed to come back and close the door. Thank you, Jaylen Brown, for closing the door after a tough game. I'll talk a little bit more about Jaylen Brown later on and why just as this was a nice kind of like a reminder of how far Jaylen Brown has come. Not that it's not a sign because he's already come this far, right? He's already been the conference finals and finals MVP. But a game like this just makes you think back. You're like, wow, man, I remember when Jaylen wouldn't have this kind of game shooting the way he did. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. The Celtics didn't get a ton from their bench. Peyton Pritchard got 13 points and hit 3 of 6, including a big one in the fourth quarter. But the bench, he was a minus 14. Hauser, minus 13. Nemish Queta was a minus 15. Queta was in there for that big stretch. It was getting like, relentless what the Cavs were doing to Queta. I asked Joe Mazzulla about it after the game. Basically, he said, if you're gonna trust these guys, you're gonna trust them through everything. You got to give him that chance, which is, look, a little bit of a confidence builder in a way, because you don't get pulled, and if you're getting pulled, if you're getting targeted, you get pulled. Maybe he feels like that can break his confidence. Maybe he felt like there was nowhere else to go. So the Celtics kept Queta in there, and he kept getting targeted, and he just kept giving up points after points after points. It was a bad stretch there. But I think that the Celtics withstood it very well. I wondered if they would have gone to maybe a smaller lineup at that point, something that was a little bit more capable of switching in that moment. But they stuck with Queta. I guess I guess it paid off because they won. But still, the Celtics, I would have liked to see something different, but that's not the story of this game. That's just the flow of this game. First quarter was just a barrage of first quarter. Actually, they started a little slow, I want to say, in the first quarter. I think they were trying too hard in the first quarter. They were really attacking. It looked a little more frantic in the first quarter than it did. They settled down. They settled into the game. 5 of 11 from 3 in the first quarter, 9 of 11 from 3 in the second quarter. That's when the barrage really started to happen. They started to build their lead. And then they got into that third quarter. Fourth quarter, big answer with the Al Horford blocks. Jaylen Brown with the big finish. So the Celtics, did they send a message in this game? Maybe. Did they need to send a message? I mean, and there's a lot of like discussion after a game like this. Ooh, statement win. The Cavs were 15-0 and the Celtics made that statement. We're still the team to beat. And yes, they did in a way, but did they need to? Did anybody really think that the Cavs were like suddenly better than the Celtics? No. They were 15-0. They had an incredible run to start the season. And to be fair, they were missing a bunch of guys in this game. They didn't have Karis LeVert. They didn't have Dean Wade. So they were missing guys. They didn't have Max Strus. So important players for the Cavs. So when the Celtics play them again in a couple of weeks, that will be a little bit different. But no one sat there and was like, well, the Cavs are clearly better than Boston now. It's just that they went on a big run to start the season. And I think the Cavs have given themselves a nice cushion and will probably finish in top 2, maybe 3, depending if one of these other teams can get themselves together. But probably this is probably the top 2. It's not about the Celtics making a statement. After the game, Al Horford said, no, it's about us. And I think that's right. I think how they did this and why this is more about them than making any sort of statement, I think that's the more important thing. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I'll talk about that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So go make a smart bet. Don't be like me. I made a dumb bet on Mike Tyson. Don't do that. Make a smart bet. and you bet $5, you win. You get that $150 in bonus bets. And the FanDuel Sportsbook has everything you need to place live bets during the game. So maybe you had a hunch in the middle of the game that the Cavs would make a run, and you could have bet on that. You can check out the latest stats, play-by-play, and all of that in the same place where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Set your limits, set your budget. You know what you can afford to lose. So make that your budget. $10, $50, $100. Make that your budget over at FanDuel.com. Gamble responsibly. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure that you are checking out the Locked On Celtics postcast. So if you're on the audio feed, you're looking today, there's two podcasts. Locked On Celtics postcast with Steve Lennox and this podcast, both on the audio feed. About 5 minutes after the game, 10 minutes after the game, Steve goes live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube page. So you can go listen and watch there live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube page. And then the audio goes on to this audio feed. Locked On Celtics YouTube page stays the same. Nothing changes there. So your favorite podcasts, just added another podcast to keep you satisfied after a game. He goes first. I go back and I talk to all the players and the coaches, and then come back out and I have a little bit more in-depth, because of all the quotes, podcast for you. So let's continue that little bit more in-depth podcast for you. We're talking about this defense and the rebounding, and it seemed like the Celtics came out with added focus. They definitely, there's no doubt that they've played down. They played down to the Raptors. They played down to the Hornets. They played down, and their their defense is not where it needed to be. In this one, they played, generally speaking, better defense. The first half defense was better. Overall, okay, the Cavs, the number looks much better overall because they shot 49.5%, 10 of 29 from three, 34.5%. The Celtics turned it over 13 times, by the way, for 20 Cavs points. That was a lot of third quarter stuff. But in the first half, the Celtics held the Cavs 19 to 44, so 43%, 4-14 from three. The Celtics only allowed 5 second chance points, 6 offensive rebounds. So they only lost that in the first half by 1. They were even in second chance points. They did give up a bunch of points in the paint, 26, which is a lot, but right about their average right now, which they're averaging giving up a lot. But it wasn't just a bunch of like second chances and stuff like that, right? The Cavs do score a lot of points in the paint because they've got Evan Mobley, they got Jared Allen, they throw lobs, they do all that stuff. But I thought the defense in the first half was really good. And then in the fourth quarter, it got good again. Al Horford with those 2 blocks. The Cavs shot 10 of 23 in the fourth quarter. They did have 4 offensive rebounds and 8 second chance points, 12 points in the paint. The Celtics actually had 2 more points in the paint in the fourth quarter. So the defense comes through when they needed it to come through down the stretch. The rebounding, the Celtics out-rebounded the Cavs 42-41. So they gave up 12 offensive rebounds. They lost that battle by 3, but it wasn't like 20 offensive rebounds. They I think were better in that area, and they could be even better if they had that third quarter kind of locked down a little bit more. But like I said, it's not about the message. It's not about what the rest of the league thinks. This is about them doing the things that they need to do and understanding that you don't have to break from the plan. You can go and make the right reads and make the right plays offensively, and you can box out defensively, and you can just guard your guy better, guard your yard better. Those little things that the Celtics have been kind of lacking. And I think that's just more of a, hey, we're the champs. We're not, we're maybe the Hawks were beneath them in that moment. And the Celtics have been trying to toe the line between, we're not going to try that hard, and we're going to try just enough in the third or fourth quarter to try to win this game. It's a formula that's kind of basically worked. But in this one, they started from the beginning. They held the Cavs to 20 points in the first quarter. That's obviously really good. They held Darius Garland in complete check, 8 points, 3 of 21 shooting, 0 of 6 from 3. Garland has been, we had Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs on here yesterday talking about Garland's playing at an all-star level. I think the Celtics were able to kind of get the Cavs out of their comfort zone. One thing that, and I think this might have been because of the injuries too, but Donovan Mitchell was only averaging 31 minutes a game coming into this, and he played 40 in this game. They're trying to hunt matchups, and maybe what Joe Mazzulla was doing out there was saying what he did before with Al Horford in the playoffs. Maybe he was just like, we're hitting a bunch of threes. We can't let the Cavs start hitting a bunch of threes. They're attacking Nemish Queta, and they're scoring twos, and they were coming back, but the Celtics weren't exactly running their best offense at that time. If the Celtics had run their offense, they could have just traded baskets in the third quarter, and that would have been a little bit more acceptable. Instead of giving up a 40-28 quarter, I mean, they could have defended better, but maybe it could have been a 40-36 quarter. And it's just like, you lose 4 points off the lead. You're still going into the fourth with a double-digit lead. It may have just been like, and Joe would probably never say this after the game, but may have simply been, we were baiting them into trying to get to, inside the 3-point line because we're afraid of what Donovan Mitchell was going to do. Mitchell attacked Queta a lot. The Celtics might have been okay with it. They still could have challenged a little bit better. Like, it's great to say, they're baiting the Cavs into twos, and that's going to prevent their full comeback, but you can still challenge those a little bit better. So maybe that was part of the strategy. But I just think overall, the Celtics kind of showed, like, when they're focused, when they're together, when they know that they need to play their best to beat an opponent, they went and played their best and beat a really good opponent. And this Celtics team is so good that it's hard to blame them for some of the things that they do, for some of the way that they play sometimes, because they get away with it. The Celtics played a great second quarter. They played a really good fourth quarter, and they played half of a good first quarter. And we'll say 4 minutes of the first 4 minutes of the third quarter were good too. Like, they didn't just come out of halftime and suck. The first 4 minutes were good too. So that's 12, 24, 28, and half of the first quarter is 34 minutes out of 48 that were good. So there were a lot of opportunity there to play even better. They didn't play their best for a long stretch, and they still won. They won by 3. They had it up to 7 or 8 at one point in the fourth quarter. So the win is the most important thing. How they won it, I think, with the right reads, making the right plays. And this is where Jaylen Brown, there's one play in particular with Jaylen Brown that really highlights this. Let me get into him, Jayson Tatum, Al Horford, the individual stuff when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. You want to play daily fantasy sports? Prize Picks is the way to go. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as few as 4 correct picks. They've got over 10 million members, and they've paid out billions of dollars in winnings. So you know that Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy. It's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineup stays in play even if one of your players gets hurt. If he leaves in the first half and doesn't come back, your lineup stays live, so you have a chance to win some money. They've invented the flex play, so you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So, and now they offer Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your accounts right now. So go sign up today, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win. You just got to play your first $5 lineup, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 instantly. So go check that out at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Hey, we've got a newsletter. Locked On Celtics newsletter is your one-stop ultimate team in league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Celtics team newsletter. Jayson Tatum had a monster game here. He shot 11 for 22, 6 of 10 from 3. He had his first 4 3-pointers, 33 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. The rebounding, I think, is the even bigger story than the 33 points and the 7 assists. The Celtics needed a lot of rebounding, and he was there to provide it. So, but Tatum just, when the bench came in, the Celtics struggled. Tatum was able to carry them through a lot of those stretches. I don't know, what else do you want me to say? Tatum is, when he's playing like this, when he's shooting like this, when he's distributing like this, he's part of the MVP conversation. Jaylen Brown did not have the same offensive game, but there's a play in particular early on where in the fourth quarter where he drove and kicked it to the corner, not like right about the break. I think it might have been an Al Horford 3-pointer, where I think Jaylen, when I said earlier on that the Celtics were a little frantic, trying too hard, I think Jaylen was trying a little too hard in this, trying too hard to drive, which you want the drives, but he was trying to finish. And I think the Celtics were they were being aggressive-ish, like aggressive with Evan Mobley and aggressive with Jared Allen. But then they'd get to the rim and start to get a little cute with the ball. And if you're going to challenge the shot blocker, challenge the shot blocker. Try to dunk on him. Go through him. Force him to foul you. The Celtics drove and were like, yeah, we're going to go at him. And they were like, oh, damn, he's really big and can block a shot. And they tried to finish around him. I don't know how Mobley only had 1 block shot. I don't know how Jared Allen didn't block any. I feel like the most shocking stat in this box score to me is 3 block shots for the Cavs. I feel like they blocked 10 shots. They challenged a ton. But in the fourth quarter, when Jaylen drove and kicked it, and it was a 3-pointer, I was like, oh, that's it. That's the play I was looking for. Earlier in the game, he was just driving and a little out of control. And then at the end, he was making the right reads. And I think when I said earlier, this is where the reminder comes in. You're like, man, look at Jaylen's stat line. 7 of 17 shooting, 2 of 7 from 3, 1 of 2 from the line. 17 points on 17 shots is not efficient. It's not a great offensive game at all. He had 8 assists. He led the Celtics with 8 assists, which is great, right? That is great. Do not want to discount that. But the point here is I'm actually paying Jaylen Brown a compliment. It's a reminder of how good he can be without having to score efficiently Whereas in the past, he would never have been this good. There was a point in his career where a 7 of 17 shooting night, he would have been a mess defensively. He would have gotten backdoored. He would have gotten lost. And he shook this maybe at least a season or two ago, maybe. So it's not like a new thing. It's not like, hey, wow, I can't believe he did this. I can't believe he did this. But every once in a while, you look at it and you're like, oh, it's so nice that he's able to do this now and contribute to a big win without having to be the most efficient scorer. And not only did he do that, but in the fourth quarter, he was an efficient scorer. His fourth quarter, 3 of 5 shooting. That's when he went 1 of 2 from the line, but he had 7 points, 3 assists in the fourth quarter. Overall, 17 points, but the fourth quarter he came alive and he closed the door. So just a shout out to Jaylen Brown, plus 17. Al Horford was a plus 18. Derek White was a plus 17. Tatum, for all of the numbers, was only a plus 2, but that was because, especially in the third quarter, like the plus 17 part, he was there, but all of a sudden that entire lead just got cut, and he was on the floor with the bench for all of that. So that was part of it, why his plus minus is so bad. Like his was 2 plus 2. Peyton Pritchard was minus 14. Jaylen Brown is 17. So you get where I'm going with this. Like Jayson was with Jaylen Brown, and then these bench guys came in, and Jayson was the one who took the plus minus hit. But he was still amazing. And again, Jaylen, just a credit to him for sticking with it and being a great defensively. He was plus 17. He was great defensively. He was picking up Donovan Mitchell full court. The way he was just guarding everybody in the perimeter, like that was big. The fact that the Celtics were able to limit Darius Garland the way they did was huge. That won them the game. Al Horford, just amazing. The block shots I already talked about. 20 points for Al Horford, the second leading scorer. 7 rebounds. He was 4 or 5 from 3. After the game, Kenny Atkinson was like, Atkinson coached Al Horford in Atlanta. He was the one that was like, hey, you better evolve and get yourself out to the 3-point line. He was instrumental in Al Horford's development. After the game, he was like, not only is Al shooting threes, he used to need a lot of time to get those threes off, and now he doesn't. He's just firing those away. I gotta tell you, Al was super aggressive. He pulled up for one. It was like by the hash mark. You're like, wow, Al Horford, that is incredible that he's pulling up from that far away. But they don't win this at all without Al Horford. Derek White, also a huge game. 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. A huge 3-pointer in that fourth quarter. Talking about having that 3 right there in his pocket. I love it when Derek is so mild-mannered. After the games, he's very calm, and you ask him a question, he's like, yeah, we're just trying to be better. And you're like, okay, give me a little bit more there, Derek. He's not a big talker in the post-game press conferences. But on the floor, when he's hitting a big shot, he's talking. He's talking loudly. So Derek, 7 of 12 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, plus 17. You don't win this game without Derek White doing what he does. And, Drew Holiday too. Not the loudest Drew Holiday game, but, just shout out to him, 3 of 4 from 3. The Celtics shot well from 3. They were 22 of 41. You can say that's the difference in the game because they outscored the Cavs, was that by 12 3-pointers, so by 36. That's a big spread. The Celtics lost the free throws by 5. They lost the points in the paint by 14. So that's the 3-point spread is really where the Celtics made up the difference. But we knew that going in, that the Cavs give up a lot of three-pointers and the Celtics take a lot of three-pointers, and that was going to be the story of the game. And that essentially was, but I really like to focus on the Celtics defense, rebounding, and all of that for coming up with this win. Very cool. Next step for the Celtics, the next thing the Celtics are going to do as a team, they're going to go to the White House on Thursday. That's very cool. I hope to be there. So we'll see. If I am there, I'll share that experience with you here on the podcast. So subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. Make sure you're listening every day, Monday through Friday. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comments section. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast and told everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.